Praise the Lord, everybody. This is the evangelist Marques Watts. Come to you today. Just want to say this real quick. I want to confirm what I said about white privilege on Facebook and to give you an understanding of what white privilege actually is. White privilege is not when a person who's white just naturally has things handed to them. That's not white privilege. Let's get that clear. I've heard stories from my Caucasian brothers and sisters who have made it clear to me that black people have said things like that. That's not true. I want to make that clear. There are Caucasians who actually, a lot of Caucasians that don't have the privilege of getting a job right away, that don't have the privilege of taking off in industries they want to take off in right away. So don't think that the Caucasian person in this country just naturally has everything, together as far as opportunities right away. That's not true for all walks of life. Um, the terminology white privilege is actually talking about the fact that a Caucasian person has the privilege of not worrying about going inside a store or different environments and people falsely accuse them of about to steal something. They also have the privilege of not worrying about going into an environment where people falsely accuse them of being a gangster, falsely accuse them of being a sexually immoral, falsely accuse them of being a child abuser just off the color of their skin. They also have the privilege of being pulled over by a cop and not have to worry about the cop taking the gun out and shooting them right on the spot because of the color of their skin as well. And I remembered when I used to work for Redbox, and I mentioned this before, and I'm going to mention this again as a reminder. I remember getting three Caucasian gentlemen who hated African Americans try to get me fired from Redbox and try to get me arrested by putting an illegal drug on my machine. And I remember clearly that day that I approached a lady about the situation. So she said, "Yes, sir, I'll get somebody out here." To make long story short, what I remember clearly is that those three guys walked out. They blew me off as if I wasn't there. And one of them grabbed the drug with their bare hands without using a glove and threw that illegal drug in the trash. And when the lady asked if it was illegal, they lied to her saying it wasn't. The reason why I'm saying this is because my co-workers, all of my co-workers from Redbox in that area were Caucasian. I was the only African American that worked in that region for Redbox at the time. And what I laugh about is all of them confirmed with me. I want to point this out to y'all. This is why it's called white privilege for a reason. About the white privilege statements that are being made. All of them made it clear to me, even my former general manager made it clear to me, they never had anybody that they can recall put an illegal drug on top of one of their machines that they were servicing. They told me that. And I was the first one, as far as working with them in our region, that happened to. And by the way, I happen to be the only person of color. Okay? The reason why I had to point that out, folks, is because, people think that if an African American or person of color is doing the right thing, being nice to people and everything, they're going to just naturally have a wonderful life and not get racially attacked. That's not true at all, actually. I've been racially attacked since I was 4 years old up until now. So it's real, people. It's real. You're talking to a '90s kid, so this is real. I remember years ago, and I want to point something else about white privilege. The average white person doesn't have to worry about a little kid falsely accusing them of being a gangster because of the color of their skin. I've had more than one child, sadly to say, from black and white, assumed I was a gangster because I was black. And I've had incidents of black guys giving me dirty looks for servicing the Redbox machine when I used to work for Redbox. And I also had one black guy falsely accuse me of being a gangster by doing illegal business with Redbox, which I laughed about that because if I was doing illegal business with Redbox, not only that I would have been fired right away once they caught me, but I also would have been arrested. There's been a flip side there too. I've also had Caucasians and African Americans say congratulations to me for servicing Redbox and made it clear to me keep up the good work and keep doing the right thing. So I just want to acknowledge the decent Caucasians and the decent blacks and the godly blacks and the godly Caucasians, because the black brothers and sisters and white brothers and sisters who are not embracing systematic racism, they've made it clear to black guys like myself that are doing the right thing and other people of color that are doing the right thing to stay in the straight path. And so why I want to encourage everybody to understand is this: we live in the same country but different worlds at the same time. And people are now starting to find out from me that white privilege does exist when it comes to those things. And I want to point something else out to you. I've gone inside of different church environments, black and white, and people assume that I grew up in a one-parent home. And I've had to correct people respectfully, let them know, no, I did not go through that in my childhood stages. I remember I was actually, this is years later, I was doing DoorDash about 3 weeks ago. It might have been longer than that, actually. So I think it was longer than that now. But to make long story short, these black ladies, they were middle-aged. In my opinion, it was done ignorantly because of what's happened in the black community that needs to be addressed. I'm going to address it more at the right time, again. But they assumed because I was an African American, now they might have thought I was really young, because people thought a lot of people think I'm still barely out of high school. I've been out of high school now for 14 years now, but they thought that I grew up in a one-parent home. So the ladies made a statement to me saying, "Mom did well," when they try to compliment me about my common courtesy. And so right on the spot, I respectfully corrected that, and I said, "Mom and Dad." And they said it again. "Yeah, Mom did well." I said, "Mom and Dad." They didn't want to believe me because they didn't believe me that I was not a part of the statistic of growing up in a one-parent home. I did not go through that in my childhood stages. I was blessed to be born in marriage. I was blessed to grow up in a two-parent biological home from the time I was born until I received my high school diploma, and I was blessed to in the fact that my mother was sexually pure when she married my dad in 1983 during the free love era. So, that not everybody could say they had a parent or parents that did it the right way. So my mother did it the right way during the free love era in 1983 as a 22-year-old virgin. And so the reason why I'm saying that as a reminder to people is because I've had to tell people that I was born in marriage as a black man. I've had to tell people that my mother, when it's the right time, I want to make that clear, that my mother was a 22-year-old virgin when she married my father back in 1983 during the last tail end of the free love era. And I've also had to tell people, to God be the glory, I've not gone down the road and done my thing by doing criminal activity or banging women. It can be done. My mother and myself have done it the right way through the years because we put God first in our lives to keep us from doing those things. So I want y'all to understand something here. That's the systematic stereotype racism that we've gone through. So, and I've had, hate to say this, but it's just a fact, I've had black women and Caucasian women, Hispanic women, had sadly say some of them was married or had boyfriends, get angry at me for not flirting with them or hitting on them. And I kind of had to remind them, like, hey, we're supposed to be Christians, And even if they were single, I can't seduce them either, because the Bible makes it clear, the Old and New Testament, that we got to do it the right way according to the Bible when it comes to marriage. In the book of Proverbs, it makes it clear that a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain the favor of the Lord. So that's very clear in the book of Proverbs. So, and I got to stay far away from all those things. So we got to keep all that in perspective. But that's pretty much what white privilege is that the average white person does not have to worry about a Caucasian person or a black person going up to them, accusing them of being a gangster, mocking them for talking proper, not having to worry about not accusing them of being a child abuser or a player because of the color of their skin on a regular basis. They don't have to worry about those things on a regular basis. So I encourage everybody in the body of Christ especially to continue to give clarity of a right from wrong for the glory of God, and to continue to show the love of Christ to everyone. Pastor Robert Hoskins on this past Sunday this month really talked about racism. I'm glad he did. And he made it very clear about the George Floyd situation, that what happened to George Floyd was wrong. I'm glad he said that, because a lot of people who buy into that systematic racism have been trying to find excuses of why he was murdered. Folks, it doesn't matter if he had a good past or a bad past prior to that. The man was murdered in cold blood. There's no excuse for that. And by the way, I doubted that if he had been a Caucasian guy murdered in cold blood like that, and then people try to make excuses for that. Stop making excuses. The man was murdered in cold blood. Please remember that and pray for his family. Pray for his family. Because what happened to him should not have happened. So my encouragement to everybody is to keep on embracing the love of Christ, keep on advancing the kingdom of God, trust God that his kingdom will be poured down inside this country and the world as well. So anyway, you all have a blessed night. And thank you very much. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Thank you. Bye.